This is the life, an open-top car, sunny skies, great weather, and absolutely fabulous coastal road to drive along. Well, if you want to have the good life too, Audi are planning to bring this car, the A5 Cabriolet, to India, and that's what I'm driving today. Tell you all about it. Though the sun was shining, a crisp, cold wind was whipping through the car, and I was glad for the seat warmer and the neck blower that was keeping me warm and toasty. With my hands behind the wheel and the awesome road unfurling in front of me, I settled in to find out the experience from behind the wheel. The 2-liter diesel engine with 190 HP and a whopping 400 Nm of torque would be the obvious choice for India, so that's what I chose. This diesel engine is so smooth, so refined, you barely hear it at all. And the beauty about it is it's really linear in its power delivery. It accelerates very easily. And it's a 190 horsepower 2-liter diesel, but you never lack for power, gets up to speed easily, and you can cruise really comfortably. There are no sudden surges of torque, but gentle dabs on the throttle draw more than enough response. The 7-speed S-tronic gearbox works smoothly and efficiently as well, keeping it within the power band. The leisurely manner of this engine gives it a claimed fuel efficiency figure of around 22 kilometers per liter, which is pretty impressive too. Just everything about this car has an easy manner to it. We also drove the 3-liter diesel for a bit, which offers up a lot more thrill factor. Extend your foot on the pedal of this one and you do get pinned to the back of your seat with big surges of torque propelling you forward in a smooth but quick manner. This engine too impresses on the refinement level. But after a short stint, it was back to the 2-liter variant, which was letting me enjoy this winding coastal road. Now, this car is all-wheel drive, so you do get a good sense of security and you can carve out corners pretty easily. But if you're expecting sporty and razor sharp, it's not that. It's more of a tourer and an easy cruiser. Having said that, the additional 40% of torsional stiffness in this version of the A5 makes it impressively stable-footed around corners for a car without a roof. Body control is good. You can carry a fair bit of speed into corners without a car. Now, of course, you have the various modes that you can set this car into. Comfort, when you select it on drive mode, it makes the car quite soft and, in fact, wallowy over undulating sections of road. And I prefer to set it in dynamic, which actually makes it a little bit firmer, stiffer, but settles it down better and even makes the handling a little sharper. The dynamic mode doesn't actually affect the ride quality too much as well. The only thing that didn't quite ensure me of the agility of the car was the steering. Though accurate, it felt overly light and disconnected from what was happening under the wheels, taking a little away from how well the car actually handles. Ride quality overall is pretty good. Set it in comfort and you won't have a thing to complain about. But pick up the pace and you'll definitely want it in dynamic because otherwise there's a bit too much of movement around. In comfort, even the worst of potholes really didn't unsettle the A5. But from behind the wheel, it makes the rear of the car feel a bit too soft, especially if you're dialing it around corners. However, for our city conditions, it would make this ride quality quite exceptional. Now, the beauty about this car is its versatility. If I'm at speeds below 50, all I need to do is press the button once, stay at a speed below 50, and the soft top will close itself. So I'm not distracted, don't have to take my eyes off the road, don't have to hold the button in place. I can just keep going. The one-touch roof button works well, bringing up the top in 15 seconds and down again in 18. And once that soft top is closed, you realize that it just doesn't feel like a soft top car because it is just so silent in here, so well insulated, shuts the world outside and keeps it outside. Audi have worked hard on providing insulation that is so good, it's hard to believe that you don't actually have a fixed roof on this car. In fact, this is one of the things that makes this car quite so special. There are other good things about this car too, like the microphones built into your seatbelt so that you can have a conversation on a call when the roof is down without too much wind disturbance. The relaxed vibe of this car was really getting to me, and I was enjoying the excellent drive, the playlist on the Bang & Olufsen system, and unfortunately it all seemed to come to a close too soon. The day had passed by in one slick flash, and as the sunset drew close, I stopped to take in a little more of the car. The interiors do spell quality, and the now familiar virtual cockpit gives it some sportiness. The new MMI Touch tablet makes all the functions easy to flip through, and the Google Map and Google Earth views make the navigation map easy to read as well. Of course, there are a host of features, but we'll have to wait and see which ones make it to India. What makes this car additionally good for our conditions is the respectable 380-litre boot that doesn't lose too much when the roof is folded away, and it remains a good 320 litres of storage space. Of course, the fact that it's a four-seater makes it that much more practical, and the increased dimensions make the rear seat good enough for people my height and even a bit more. Of course, let's not forget how it looks. All its athletic lines draw you to the front, giving this car a sense of motion even when it's standing still. Hood up or hood down, it is attractive and will make heads turn. Well, after driving this car for a couple of hours, I've realized it's not about drama and thrill. It's all about easy touring. It definitely delivers on that cabriolet experience, smooth and relaxed. And apart from that, it's pretty practical and versatile too. With the top on, it feels well insulated and just doesn't feel like a soft-top car. And you have a reasonable sized boot and you can fit 4 in. So this can be your everyday car as well. So if Audi are thinking on bringing this to India, I think they definitely should.
When Suzuki introduced its brand new Baleno to the world at the Frankfurt Motor Show in 2015, we were there and we came away rather impressed by it. But what really piqued our interest was this new 1-litre 3-cylinder turbocharged engine called the Booster Jet, which was available in the European car. And of course, when the Baleno was launched in India, we just got the regular 1.2 petrol and 1.3 diesel engines. And while they are great, we petrol heads were longing for that fancy turbo petrol engine. Now, however, in 2017, the Booster Jet engine is finally in India, and just to make matters a little bit more interesting, Maruti has launched the Baleno in an exclusive sporty trim for this engine called the Baleno RS. And because it's a sporty trim, they brought us all the way here to the Booth International Circuit to give it a proper shakedown. But first, a quick sum up of what's new on the Baleno RS's exterior. At first glance, it might not seem a lot, but look a little closer and you'll find a number of new details. At the front, there are black accents in the headlamps, a new grille mesh finished in gunmetal grey, and a new bumper with a neat lip peeking out from the bottom. That lip continues around the sides in the form of these skirts, and over at the back there's an all-new bumper that's perhaps the most aggressive visual element of this car, with its dark grey rear valance. What's a bit disappointing is the alloy wheels. They may be painted black, but they're still the same 16-inch design as the standard cars. A sportier set would have really done wonders. So, now that you know how to spot a Baleno RS out on the street, time to hit the track and see what this new Booster Jet engine is all about. Right, now the first thing you notice about this new Baleno's 1-litre Booster Jet engine is what I'm noticing right now as soon as I exit the pit lane, is that it's not as frantically peppy off the line as even the 1.2-litre petrol. That bottom end is just not there. It doesn't jump off the line. There's a bit of a cushion, a bit of a delay before the power comes in. And that's okay, it just takes a little bit getting used to. If you're used to the 1.2, this is really quite different setting off the line. The next thing I noticed, of course, is that the steering does feel a lot better. Now, I will admit this is a brand new car, so maybe there's a little bit of tightness as opposed to our test Balenos that have had a few thousand kilometers put on them. But it's still not perfect, it's still far from the best steering you'll find out there, but it does at least feel a bit heavier and a bit more weighted, which is really quite a welcome change, because that was really one of the Baleno's biggest failings in the past. It felt a little too loose and disconnected from the road. This does feel a lot better, and that's a good thing indeed, especially here on the both international circuit.
While on the subject of corners and handling, it would have been really great if Maruti somehow managed to put seats with better lateral support in the Baleno RS. Sure, these are comfortable, but when you're flinging it around corners, it would have been nice to be held in place a bit better.
As with all turbocharged engines, there is a bit of a delay before the power comes on in earnest. And in this 1 liter booster jet, that point is around 2000 RPM. That's when the real thrust begins, and it goes on all the way till 6000 RPM, which is the red line, at which point the limiter kicks in. It's not as strong at the top end, obviously, but it will rev there. It's not a free-revving engine either, but it will rev all the way there nonetheless. It is all about the mid-range, this car. Once you get it past 2000 and into the meat of the power band, you really want to stick it there. The good right now, for me, is a series of third and fourth gear corners. And it's only on the straight that you ever get it to fifth, and you really have to go down to second in this car. So while it's got a good mid-range and it's really quite entertaining, that's helped a lot by the lightweight of this car. You can't say it's an outright entertaining engine, you know. It doesn't rev very quickly. Even the build-up of speed is quite gradual, and it's consistent, but it's not thrilling, you know. The power is enough, it's not excessive. As we open it up here once again on the back straight, you'll see that yes, it's there. It even makes a pretty decent noise. The 3-cylinder actually sounds quite good when it wakes up. But really, I'm not so sure.
While it feels pretty quick on its own, we couldn't help but feel it could have been faster still. And it turns out there's actually a good reason for that. The booster jet motor has been detuned for India.
Now it's a shame that Maruti couldn't offer this engine in its full European spec, which I believe has about 111 horsepower and 170 newton meters of torque. Here it only develops 102 horsepower and 150 newton meters. And the reason for that is because they've designed it to work with the worst possible fuel our country has to offer. Maruti is a brand that sells all over the country, even in places where you don't get even 91 octane petrol. So in order to make sure it works even in those conditions, it's been detuned just a little bit, and that's a shame.
It's not just the engine though. Maruti has fitted with the Baleno chassis and suspension too for this RS variant.
Now, similarly with the suspension, it has been beefed up, but that's not because this is an RS model. It's actually been beefed up because the whole car has been beefed up for better crash regulations. It's about 60 kilograms heavier than before, and that's why to compensate they've had to stiffen up the suspension quite a bit. The engine itself and its ancillaries, including the turbocharger, is only really a few kilograms heavier than the 1.2 liter petrol. It's just all the extra stiffening that caused the dramatic weight gain.
Maruti has also added rear disc brakes to this Baleno RS, and while it did feel a bit stronger, you'll have to wait for our full road test to see just how much. An area where there have been no changes is the interior, where things are exactly the same as in the top spec Baleno Alpha.
Now, the slightly disappointing thing about the interior of the Baleno RS is that it's really no different from the standard car. Well, that's no bad thing, honestly. It's a good interior. It's got a leather-wrapped steering wheel and a 7-inch smart play screen right front and center of the dashboard. But we wish Maruti would have done a little bit extra to spruce up this car here to make you feel a little bit more special for having bought an RS. There are RS patch floor mats, but really, it really doesn't do much at all, does it? So the Baleno RS is every bit a Maruti. At 8.69 lakh rupees ex-showroom Delhi, it is well priced compared to similarly positioned hatchbacks like the VW Polo GT and the Fiat Abarth Punto. It's practical, it can run on poor quality petrol, and with a 21.4 kpl ARAI rating, it even gets pretty decent fuel economy. So it's a great family hatchback that's a little bit nicer to drive. But is it an out-and-out performance car? Not quite. Perhaps the RS badge is a little misleading. It raises your expectations higher than what the car can deliver. And at a premium of 1.4 lakh rupees over the top spec 1.2 petrol, there isn't enough, inside or out, to set it apart. Still, thanks to the new booster jet engine, it is a bit more entertaining than the standard car, and it makes for a great range topper to the Baleno lineup. Just don't go expecting white-knuckle, hot hatchback thrill.
The FZ16 was just a lovely bike from Yamaha. It looked really stylish, was an extremely rider-friendly motorcycle, and the customers just loved it. Now for 2017, Yamaha has given these FZ fans something more to look forward to, the 250cc FZ25. Even a quick glance at the FZ25 will confirm that it belongs to the FZ family. It has that same muscular, hunkered-down design that helped the FZ16 win so many hearts, although there is a new sense of maturity to it. It looks more butch than its younger sibling, and its sharp, low-position headlight with daytime running lights looks modern and well-chiseled. And yes, it does get the automatic headlight on feature. The rectangular, all-digital instrument cluster has a rather minimalistic feel to it. While it does display all the basic information you'd expect from a modern motorcycle, the layout is simple and easy to read. It does miss out on a gear position and shift indicator. The tank on the FZ25 is reminiscent of the FZ16, but with a beefier shape to it. The large tank shrouds at the front really add to its forward-biased design aesthetic. At 795 mm, the seat height is quite a comfortable one, which is good news for shorter riders. And the spacing of the foot pegs and pedals is quite comfortable. This should definitely be a bonus during longer stints in the saddle. Vibrations are well contained too, perceptible only slightly in the handlebars beyond 7,000 RPM. Now when you're riding the motorcycle, the first thing you notice is how snug the seating position is. There's a slight lean into the handlebars, but it's nothing too aggressive. This should be good for the city and longer stints in the highway. And another thing that really stands out is just how responsive this throttle is. We quite liked how immediate the response is at any given RPM. A slight twist of the wrist, and there is an almost immediate response from the engine. Under the sculpted fuel tank, it's a 249cc single-cylinder air-cooled 4-stroke engine with a single overhead camshaft in 2 valves. It pushes out 20.9 horsepower and 20 Nm of peak torque. On paper, we found the power figure to be slightly low. However, the FZ25's power is delivered smoothly, predictably, and in a linear manner. The engine's character instantly reminds you of the smaller FZ16's engine characteristics. The torque delivery is quite satisfactory, ensuring good performance in the urban crawl. And engine refinement levels are up to Yamaha's mark. This engine is mated to a 5-speed gearbox that shifts crisply and precisely. The suspension setup consists of 41 mm telescopic forks up front and a monoshock at the rear. It is a slightly stiff setup, so bumps at higher speeds aren't particularly well absorbed. But on the flip side, its high speed and cornering stability benefit from this. The FZ25 gets a diamond chassis that unfortunately is not provided with the structural agility of some of its rivals. That isn't to say that it's sluggish, but directional changes happen in a more relaxed manner. Braking is provided by a 282mm disc in the front and a 220mm disc at the rear, and it's quite effective. Overall ride quality on the FZ25 is reasonably good. It doesn't have the sharp handling of some of the other motorcycles, but then again, Yamaha intended for it to be a more relaxed one, and its 148 kg weight just make it a very easy motorcycle to manage on the go. So in all essence, it seems like the FZ16 has matured a bit. It's got a bit more power, and it's still as rider-friendly as before. It should be a nice bike to ride in the city, and wouldn't have any complaints if you decide to take it out on the highway.